I was gonna say with Philly, they gotta be the worst team this season. No matter like they may not finish last at all, but when you have almost all your losses and almost half of your games as losses on 2 lose streaks, like that's you're just playing so fucking shitty. To me, that's a new level of shit.
Yeah, you didn't go down the way I thought you were with that. I
What
thought you were going to talk about
you
because
have
of all the
in two
moves they
months,
made.
Worst
two
team?
2 months, 2 10-game losing streaks when you're supposed to be pushing for playoff contention. Yeah,
I would
You're the
say
worst team.
performance based off of all the moves they've made. They were one of the most underwhelming teams with how they performed, but I mean Montreal was in the Stanley Cup final last year, and
Yeah,
I
but
know
Montreal's
they probably
been-
shouldn't have been, but they are dead last.
Yeah, but Montreal's also been grinding away and barely making the playoffs for 6-7 years in a row now. As well as they also have no
Cup
one.
final.
They made the Cup
Yeah.
final, and
They're
they
missing
traded,
their star goalie, and they're missing their captain, and they're missing half their defense. They're a shell of what they used to be with injuries.
I would
You know who
excuse
was
that,
missing?
but Arizona's missing everything.
You know who's missing their star goalie and their captain?
The other team in the finals.
Stamkos and Vasilevsky didn't start the season. There's no
And Cooch
excuse
got
for
hurt.
that.
Yeah, but
again.
they're bad.
And
Cooch got hurt
Cooch
again
got hurt.
for a
They're
month,
all
for a
back.
couple months.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's not like they did
And
good.
and Vasilevsky didn't miss he's on out months. He missed what, a couple weeks at most.
Montreal was making moves to win the Cup final again, and they're worse than the most horrible NHL assembled roster in the history.
And they traded and took Arizona's #1 center for Carolina's first. So
Yeah,
I think that's a really bad move. If you give up a first, it's not theirs for their sake, luckily. But then that team beats you 5-2 at your home arena or 5-something to overtake you. That's embarrassing.
Their owner backed up their GM when he drafted a sexual assaulter and said, "I am fully behind him" during the season, and they still fired him. They're doing that poorly.
That does not have anything to do with the worst team of the season. That's just a horrible
That shows how
hockey
bad
culture.
the team was doing. That he is willing to put up with drafting a sexual assaulter, and this team fell apart so hard that he was like, "I just can't keep you hired. I have to fire you."
That was before the season started. First and foremost,
That's
and
my
second,
point.
That's just Montreal being a bad not corporation, but hockey culture and a bad organization as a whole.
They will put
If
up
we're
with
talking
so
about just
much.
the worst team,
Yeah, they will put up with so much
Philadelphia is
bullcrap.
still the worst to me.
No chance.
No, I would disagree. When LA didn't make the playoffs the one year after they won the Cup and they were still in the fighting range, it was huge. It was oh my gosh, they just won and they're not even making it. I know Montreal didn't win a Cup, but they went that far. Was it a bit of a fluke?
Absolutely.
Looks like it now.
Complete fluke.
Absolutely. And they only made it in because of the divisions and everything. But they still went to the final, and now they're dead last. And that is a huge drop.
Let me frame it like this. Would you say Buffalo was the worst hockey team last year?
Hands down, yes.
Okay, but Jack Eichel and half our players and our goalies were. Are we still the worst?
Also, yes. The Flyers
Okay,
also have
so
a ton of
then
injuries, too.
there's no excuse for Montreal. You said, well, it's okay because they lost their goalie and their captain. No excuse. They're still the worst. Injuries is not an excuse. Checkmate.
No, but the difference is that Montreal didn't lose 10-plus games multiple times in a row this year. They're bad, but they haven't lost 10-plus in a row.
Well, they didn't need to. They've only won how many?
You have to be a special level of horrific team to fucking just miss 10 games in a row. Just not win 10 games in a row.
Well, Montreal's only won 8 this year.
Yeah, but they haven't lost 10 in a row.
I can't speak up for that, but when you've only won 8, it doesn't matter how many you've lost in a row. I mean, you can split 8 wins across an 82-game season, and you don't lose, and you might not lose a certain amount of games in a row. Doesn't mean you're doing good.
No, I'm not saying Montreal is the godsend team and they shouldn't be considered in this conversation. I'm not saying that. They should absolutely be in the conversation.
You know what?
For the most part. But my money and my vote is for the Philadelphia Flyers. Worst team of the year.
We're all just jealous we don't have 24 cups. That must be it. That must
Connor,
be it.
can you tell me the second line of the Arizona Coyotes?
I couldn't tell you the second line of most teams. What's your point? I can tell you the second line of the Pittsburgh
Don't do
Penguins,
this
my
to him.
second favorite team.
The second line of the Arizona
Don't do
Coyotes might be a starting lineup in the ECHL, and they have more points than the Montreal Canadiens. This is not like Montreal is the worst franchise this year.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Those guys have something to play for in Arizona. Those guys are looking for contracts. It's like
Those
look at the
boys are
Detroit
playing
Lions
for
this
their
year.
pool beside their mansion in the desert.
No. Look at the Detroit Lions. This year were just horrible. Just god awful. The worst football team in years. But they played their hearts out. They had something to play for, and that's what Arizona's doing.
I need some clarification for Austin's second line, because Arizona changes their lines so much that I'm looking at the lines thinking of all the possible combinations, and I'm like, it's endless. Like, you could put that line in so many different possibilities, it's still that bad.
Top
No, I don't think that's even an
defenseman from
excuse.
Arizona, Janice Moser, has a better win percentage than the Montreal Canadiens.
And one thing I just noticed here too, Montreal Canadiens have a projected cap hit $30 million more than the Buffalo Sabres.
Also, to Austin's point about the whole injury thing, Montreal has played almost 2 full NHL rosters this year because of that many injuries. The Sabres did not come close to that last year.
We started Michael Hauser in net. Michael Hauser.
Caden
God
Primo.
damn it. Caden Primo is a good-looking prospect. Michael Hauser's
bad.
31, and he was an AHL backup.